Greetings and welcome to Bubble Hearthing. I'm Bubble and you're fantastic. Today we're going to be talking about all of the blue cards from Strixhaven School of Mages, the new magic set that is going to come out on April 15th, pretty soon. Let's get to talking. So, without further ado, Arcane Subtraction is a 2-mana instant speed spell. Oh, we're getting to learn already. Fantastic. Target creature gets -4/-0 until end of turn. Have you heard of Slimebind? Because this sounds a lot like Slimebind. Older card. Not that old, but older. And then you learn. So what does learning do? Well, let's read, and then we'll explain a little more after we read. You may reveal a lesson card you own from outside the game and put it into your hand, or discard a card to draw a card. Of course, the other option it's printed but not really too obvious, is you can just do nothing. You can just decide, I like my hand how it is, I don't have any lessons, or I don't want any lessons, I don't want to draw discard stuff. We're good. Okay, perfectly legitimate. Now you may be asking, what is a lesson? It's something you learn. Moving on now. So a lesson card is something that you can pull from. Well, actually, let's just address how this plays. So outside the game is your sideboard, essentially, unless you're just playing casual tabletop kind of things. Then it is your collection, wherever you have it. You have your binder on the side of the table, and say, I'm going to pull this card out, and bam, there it goes. Of course, that's to say lesson on it. There are a set of cards that are basically overcosted for what they do, but it's kind of like a toolbox. There's one that lets you draw cards, one that gets some mana some land out of the deck. There's one that kills things. A lot of them, or to say a good portion of them, are colorless, so you can use them in any deck to kind of fulfill any little scenario that you might be stuck in, but they do cost a bit more. Like the one that draws a card costs 3, to scry 2, draw 1. Yeah, it's not that great, but if you don't have any other options, yeah, you just pluck it. I mean, you have the ability to learn, you may as well just take a card versus just not. So that's all right. And the fact that it's on a little -4/-0 kind of combat trick isn't bad. You can potentially trade up or save yourself a turn, and there is one that kills things. So in limited, if you are able to get the one that, like, I forget exactly what it's called, but you know, the removal one, then that's legit, or at least it like saves you another turn. It buys you a turn to play something to hopefully get you into a good spot. Yeah, on its own, it's not even bad, even if you don't use the learn thing there. So yeah, limited, this is pretty nice. Pretty good common, yeah, actually, really nice common. Like 2.5, 3 out of 5 for common. In standard, it's useless because people don't really use these effects. -4/-0. When's the last time you saw that in standard? It's a while ago. So yeah. Archmage. There's an H, otherwise it'd be ARC, right? Maybe not. I don't know. Linguists, tell me in the comments. 4-mana 2/2 with Magecraft. Look, we had Learn. Now we have Magecraft back to back. All right, we're talking about Strixhaven here. Magecraft is a keyword. It's italicized, so it's actually reminder text. That tells you they all have the same trigger whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell. That's common across all Magecraft cards. And then whatever follows is unique to the card. In this case, you draw a card. So 4 mana, and either you have more mana like hanging around, and you get to draw some cards, and everything, you know, draws you one. Or you wait, hopefully this survives a turn, and then the following turn, you start drawing cards. Honestly, I don't hate this card. In standard, there are better ways to draw cards. I would rather play something that costs, like, you know, 3 or 4 or something that it just straight up draws me multiple cards. I want to do that. I don't think I have much need for a body. There is no... it was Wizard's Lightning and Wizard's Retort, I think it was? The counterspell, which is cheaper if you had a wizard. If that was still in standard, I could see it. I could play this card for days and not really feel too bad about it, and, you know, also like dive down on things. Basically just mono blue. But we don't have that, so I don't think this is going to see much play in standard at all. In limited, this card's really like 4 out of 5 good. If you have any decent number of instant sorceries, and by decent number I mean like 5 or 6 in your limited, you know, in your deck of like 40 cards, then yeah, I could definitely see you play this. If you get 1 card off of it, that's value. 4 mana 2/2 draw a card. Okay, 4 mana 2/2 draw 2 cards. You're gonna be ahead there. So really nice card there. I actually like this design quite a bit. Even if in standard, I think it's gonna see 0 play. Barag Befuddler. Well, the names befuddled me already, so well done. You have accomplished your goal. Feel free to submit this as your thesis. Okay, a 2-mana 2/1 flash creature, flash frog wizard. When Did the video just stop there? I don't know. Yeah, you know what? It's not having the best day. Okay, let me just say this one more time in case I just got frozen in time. Okay. This is the Befuddler card, 2 mana, 2/1 with flash. When it enters the battlefield, target creature an opponent controls gets -1, -0 until its turn. You can like to print these every now and then. I think there's like Fairy, was it Fairy Vandal or Fairy Duelist or something that had a similar effect? They are printing this effect like pretty much in every set now, and they're not really very good. Yeah, I'm gonna say 0 out of 5 standard, 1 out of 5 limited. At the end of the day, you get a 2 mana 2/1. Surprise, it's bad. All right. 5 mana instant speed Bury in Books. This spell costs 2 less to cast if it targets an attacking creature. Put target creature into its owner's library second from the top. So we've seen an effect like this before. Was it Oust or was it Condemn? I forget exactly what the card, because there's one that puts it on top, one that puts it on the bottom. Either way, it can potentially cost 3 instead of 5 if it's targeting something that's attacking, which is fantastic if you're not running any kind of... If you have blue and say... If you're not running white or black or white I should say, because that's the phonetically more pleasing way to sound it, black or white, way to say those things. Then let's see. Right, if you're not running those, which have more solid removal, then this is an okay thing to do. If you're running either of those, maybe this isn't so good, but still 3 mana to remove a creature from the board is pretty nice. Worst case is 5 mana, you still get the thing out of the way. It's kind of a lot, but if you can win in the next 2 turns before it comes back onto the board, then you might be okay. And standard is useless. Limited, I put it like a 2 out of 5. It's alright, but like you want better removal. This is not going to fill that slot in your deck. Alright, Curate. 2 mana instant, look at the top 2 cards of your library, put any number of them, any number of 2, into your graveyard, and the rest back on top of your library in any order, and draw a card. It's not too bad. So it's almost like a Surveil 2 kind of thing, because you can just take a look at both of them, say I want them both in the graveyard, gone, and then actually pick your 3rd card. Okay, it can go 3 cards deep, not terrible. If there's anything in standard right now that wants to be in the graveyard, that really wants to be in the graveyard, this card's fantastic. In limited, it's still not bad, because you get to see a couple cards. You can even just, like, you know, reorder them however you like to, because it says in any order. So if you really want to draw this card and the next card, you know, you can just say, okay, I'm going to put this here, draw it, nice. Yeah, actually not bad at all. And with Magecraft being a thing, and, you know, maybe you want to put a creature on top, maybe you want to put another instant sorcery to trigger Magecraft again. Yeah, this is cool. Like 2.5 out of 5 in limited. Like, it does only draw 1 card, and you probably don't have many graveyard synergies where you can make use of that, you know, option to throw it away. But still, if there's a card that doesn't fit the situation at all, it's gone. That's it. If you're on, like, you know, turn 5 and you get a 1-drop on top, I'm gonna throw that one out, and I'm just gonna keep this, you know, 4-mana thing. Sure, that could be useful, and then who knows what I get after that. But yeah, I like it. I like it. In standard, this is either a combo card or a sees no play. Divide by 0, and it would be appropriate if it just had like a black screen here, just like, oh no, weird kind of glitchy effect, and then everything is gone. But I guess in Strixhaven they found a way. 3 mana instant speed, return target spell or permanent with mana value 1 or greater. I don't know how to arrow to its owner's hand, and then you learn. Very much worth noting here. Return target spell or permanent, not just, you know, thing. So this can affect things on the stack. Can't counter it? Well, I can return the spell to your hand. And with mana value greater than 1 or greater means you can't counter, you can't bounce things, whatever, that cost 0, which isn't really too important in these, in, like, you know, in the current format and stuff. Back in the old days, sure, maybe you really want to counter your opponent's Black Lotus, and paying 3 mana to stop a 0 mana thing to put it back into their hand so they can play it again. Ew, actually, that feels pretty silly. But you get to learn. That's not worth it. So I don't really know exactly why they decided to say mana value 1 or greater, but sure, it targets most things. So this could actually see some play. Geez, Aether Gust, is that still in standard? I don't. Yeah, because that was, oh, where did Aether Gust come from? I want to say that it's from Eldraine, but I also want to say that it's not. Oh, geez. Okay, well, if that's still in standard, this kind of just, you know, beats it that way. If it's not, then this is somewhat of a unique card, and actually could definitely see some play in standard, just because of the return target spell to its owner's hand. And then we'll see some lessons because learn is a thing and you want to see learn. Did we already talk about learn? Yeah, we did because it was back to back, wasn't it? Yeah. Yeah, it was like the first card was a learn card. Okay, cool. In limited, don't. Because you're like countering something, but it goes back to your opponent's hand. I mean, I guess you get to learn from it, but like, no, maybe? The fact that it can also just bounce things on the board, actually, you know what? 2 out of 5. I'm gonna say it's definitely not a like never pick thing, but it's something where you have to. It's a play testing card, like a skill testing card, I should say. If you can find the situation where it works, there should be like a couple of them each game, I imagine. Then you'll be okay. If you have no cards to learn with, then if you have no lessons, don't really don't. Okay. Dreamstrix, 3 mana, 3/2. Flying. When Dreamstrix becomes the target of a spell, sacrifice it. That's typical illusion stuff. When it dies, you learn. And I suppose it dies fairly easily. Still though, let's see, in limited, odds are either your opponent wastes like a random buff spell on this thing just to kill it, or they use a kill spell on it, which may not be big enough to kill it, but it probably is big enough because it doesn't cost very much and it has pretty low stats, so it dies anyway. And then you get another card to your hand after it dies. Yeah, actually limited. This is like a 4 out of 5 or something. This is good. If you actually have any lessons in your thing, I would like almost for sure like keep this, like snap pick this thing and put it into your deck. This card's fantastic. In standard, there are more ways than you would like to maybe be able to kill this thing. Let us say the target of a spell and not like spell or ability, so it's a little more. It's a little trickier that way. It might survive a little bit longer, but beyond that, yeah, still okay. If there's a few lessons that are good, this card's actually really good. I just feel like in the deck that wants a 3/2 flyer, you're either maybe playing some kind of Prismari deck where you want to play a whole bunch of things, some kind of Magecraft thing, or you're playing this in a flyers deck, but this doesn't really, other than it having flying, it doesn't really give you too much more of an advantage. And the learn mechanic is sort of inherently a slower thing, so not too keen on that for the flyers. But if you're playing something else where you just want to play more spells, have at it. Frost Trickster, 3 mana 2/2 flyer. When it enters the battlefield, tap target creature an opponent controls. That creature doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. Just for one. But yeah, in limited, this is okay. Something wrong with this, like a 2 out of 5, maybe even 2.5 out of 5. If you can just keep something down, and that's the little edge you needed to get past things, and even then it's a flyer, so it's alright. Standard is useless. Standard is completely useless. These effects never see any play. But unlimited, it's alright. Ingenious Mastery. Ah yes, so each color, each monocolor thing has a mastery that has a strange alternative cost and sometimes strange wording as well. This is the one for blue. You can pay X, 2 and a blue for this, or you can pay 2 and a blue and just ignore the X entirely if you would like to. If the 2 and a blue cost was paid and you didn't pay the X, right? Or if X equaled 0 in that case, you draw 3 cards, then an opponent creates 2 treasure tokens, and they scry 2. That's pretty bad. Like, so 3 mana, draw 3. So for getting 1 more card than Divination, which is 3 mana, draw 2, your opponent makes 2 treasures, which can tap and sack for mana, and they're scrying 2. Although it doesn't affect the board immensely, it's a pretty big thing. Like, that is... if there was a 1-mana spell that said create 2 treasure tokens for 1... oh, wow, yeah. If it wasn't paid, you draw X cards. So you're leveraging here now. If you're going to pay at least 3 for X, then, or if you can, obviously just do it. But do you really want to pay 6 mana to draw 3? No. So the value sort of comes in, like the 3 mana do that, otherwise... it's 4 mana draw 1? If you... oh, that felt... 4 mana draw 1's bad. 5 mana draw 2 is bad. 6 mana draw 3 is bad. It's a mana sink, sure, so for that reason alone, like 2 out of 5 in limited. Maybe 2.5. Is drawing an extra card really... no. Really worth your opponent getting 2 mana? And scrying too? No. No, it's not. It absolutely is not. In standard, I think this is going to see 0 play. I don't think that's worth it at all. If it was 2 mana draw 3, then we could be talking. This is 3 mana, draw 3. No. Kelpie Guide, 3 mana, 2/2. You can tap and untap another target permanent you control, or tap and tap this and tap another permanent. Activate only if you control 8 or more lands. So standard's useless, don't get me wrong, it's completely terrible. There's going to be some kind of combo where I use that and I play this, which then taps all my creatures, which then lets me tap Kelpie Guide again to untap this other thing, which lets me do this and back and forth. Sure. 3 mana, 2/2. I mean, in limited, it's actually okay. I would say like 2 out of 5, maybe 2.5, because you can continually just, you know, tap whatever creature your opponent has, or whatever thing you don't want to activate, and then it just pins it down forever. So you essentially trade your 2/2 existing for their strongest creature, which is alright. And then eventually, oh no, it's actually only untap. You have to have 8 lands for that. And in limited, this card's garbage, and never take it. Never, don't even, because you having 8 or more lands is not even guaranteed. A lot of games are decided before then. Okay, Mentor's Guidance is a 3 mana sorcery. When you cast this spell, copy it if you control a Planeswalker, Cleric, Druid, Shaman, Warlock, or Wizard. Scry 1, draw a card. So, obviously you're playing, not obviously, but odds are you're playing this in a Planeswalker deck. There are plenty of Wizards in this set where there's a good chance if you're playing anything Strixhaven-like, you're going to make it work. There's also just plenty of Wizards in the game. Let's see, Cleric, Druid, Shaman, Warlock. Yeah, what the hell's a Warlock? I know what a Warlock is. I don't know what is a Warlock in Magic. I don't know. That's so strange. But this actually, those are very relevant creature types, which do show up in pretty much every set. You get a few of them, so you're gonna have options there. And Planeswalker, of course, there's plenty of Planeswalkers. Pick a Planeswalker. There you go. You got it now. So in the case where it is, you know, scry 1, draw, and then scry 1, draw again, for 3 mana, you get to go, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 cards deep. That's actually really good. And you get 2 cards off the thing. Yeah, that's actually really nice. Yeah, that's really good. I mean, I wish it was an instant speed thing, but don't we all? That's pretty legit. Like, this card is not. Please, leave the stream. This card is. Huh, wow. In limited, if you have a few Wizards, sure, go for it. If you drafted a Planeswalker or you open a Planeswalker, go for it. I wouldn't be upset with you. If maybe there's some Druids or Shamans in like green or black and you're playing a couple colors there, sure. Yeah, this is a card. This is a card, my friends. If you cannot somewhat reliably trigger the scry 1, the copy, it's actually not worth it. The value is terrible. The ability to do this twice is what makes it good. Otherwise, it's just absolute garbage. I'm sorry. It goes from 0 to 100 real quick. All right. Ooh, we have a lesson. Look at this. Why is this lesson here? I thought I got rid of all the lessons. I thought I put them all in a little lesson review. I certainly did. Whatever, it's here, I'll take a look at it real quick. Here's an example of a lesson though. If you want to see the rest of the lessons, take a look at the lesson review that was like the first video I put out for this set. Okay, 2 mana, sorcery speed thing. Until end of turn, target on the permanent loses all abilities and becomes your choice of a blue frog with, it becomes a 1/1 or a 4/4. Okay, so you can use it to buff your own creature, or you can use it to, well, not necessarily buff your own creature. It says non-land permanent, so you can have a random equipment hanging around, you can have an enchantment that's sitting around doing nothing, you could have an artifact, you know, just something. You can animate your oven to be a 4/4 and attack with it. This is not obviously, this is usually going to be something you use to make your own non-land thing a 4/4 to get some extra damage in, versus, and that's only because it's a sorcery speed thing, versus weakening your opponent's thing. I don't know why you would want to make one of their non-creature things a 1/1 unless you have a sweeper, so you want to be like, I animate your Planeswalker and now it dies because of this. Like, you can use it in a combo where, okay, your Planeswalker's now a 1/1 and then I shock it and it's gone. Okay, that's neat, I guess, but not really worth too much. So interesting. Not a huge fan of this one though, but again, it's a lesson, so you're not playing this in your main deck, you're playing it in your side deck, and for that reason it's okay. If it was an instant speed thing, sure, I could definitely see this actually seeing some play, but because it's sorcery speed where you really can't use it as a combat trick, it's gonna get like a 1 out of 5 for me. 0 out of 5 in standard, 1 out of 5 limited. Okay, alright, there we go. That wasn't even supposed to be in here, but surprise, I didn't really, I let one slip by, I guess. Like, I checked it, I put the images in the folder. but I guess I didn't like double check the folder. Well, that is where Santa Claus and I differ. All right. Multiple choice. X and a blue. This is actually kind of a cool card to look at. So, let's see. I feel like I already went over this one as well. You know what I did? Because it's it has a little symbol. What is it? Prismari or is that Quandrix? Oh, it's a thing. It's a symbol. I think it's Prismari. Looks like the fire and then the water. So okay. Well, we'll go over it anyway because it is, in essence, a mono blue card, or just a blue card. So this is not necessarily where you sink all your mana into. You either want to pay 1, 2, 3, or ideally 4 for X. You would never want to pay more than that, unless you just want to throw your mana away. So, and by the way, like the best flavor in the whole set for a card, like let's read this. If it's 1, scry 1, draw a card. If X is 2, you may choose a player and they return a creature they control to their owner's hand. If X is 3, you create a 4/4 red and blue elemental creature token, and if it's 4, do all of the above. Literally, option D is all of the above, and each other one does a different thing, and you just choose which one if you have all the mana, otherwise you might be stuck with a few of them. This card is so much fun. Oh my god, just the idea of it. Oh, I love it. This is easily like a 4 out of 5, maybe even like a 4.55 out of 5 thing unlimited, just because it gives you the options. If you pick all of them, guess what? You're having a good time. You're making a creature, scrying and drawing, something gets bounced. You're happy with that. In standard, I don't know if you're too happy to see this card all that much. Like, if you do all those, if you pay 5 mana to make a 4/4 draw a card and bounce a thing, but the fact that they get to choose what goes back really hurts you. If you're playing against a slower deck, this could maybe see some play. If you're playing a deck that for some reason has no creatures in it, or whatever, maybe you're doing some weird deck building companion thing, I don't know, then you can use this to get around that restriction because, you know, you have a spell, you have a non-creature spell that makes a creature. Okay. But beyond that, it's like a 2 out of 5 in standard because it just doesn't quite get there. But otherwise, like Unlimited is cool, and just the idea behind it's like a lot of fun. Okay, pop quiz. 3-minute instant speed, draw a card, and learn. I hate it. I hate it. How many times are you gonna have 3 mana floating around? You shouldn't have 3 mana floating around. If you are gonna have 3 mana, like, to just draw a card is not good. Even if it was like, you know, draw a card, discard a card, then draw another card. That's not a 3 mana effect. That's still like a 1 mana effect. 1.5 maybe, not 3. No, 0 out of 5. Across the board. And now, is this reject or reject? Are we saying that this character in particular is a reject, or are we rejecting them? Is it the noun or the verb? All right. So, 2-minute instant speed, counter target creature or planeswalker. I guess it's saying reject then because it's specifically either a creature, which is like, you know, a thing, or a planeswalker who is a person, you know. So, now we know. Unless its controller pays 3. If that spell is countered this way, exile it instead of putting it into their graveyard. So 2 mana to tax them for 3 is mana leak, notably, and it has to be a creature or planeswalker spell. So sideboard card for sure, but a damn good one. Wow. If your opponent is playing like, it's not gonna be super good against mono red because like they play weak little guys. Sure, do you really want to hold off like get to turn 2 and then counter the 2 mana thing with a 2 mana thing and maybe counter a 3 mana? But it's like, it's really not bad though. This actually could be all right. Yeah. Standard, like, I'm gonna say this is like a 2.5, maybe even a 3 out of 5. I don't know. Mana leak is super awesome. If it was in standard, it would be seen in like 4 ofs in control decks everywhere. So this is fine. In limited, also pretty good. I'm gonna say 2 out of 5 limited because odds are your opponent's going to play a creature or planeswalker at some point, because otherwise they probably cannot win the game unless they play the one where you both draw 3 cards and then you can make your opponent draw and then they're going to deck you out somehow. They're not going to. You should win before. Alright, Resculpt. 2-minute instant speed. Exile target artifact or creature. Its controller creates a 2/2 blue and red elemental creature token. So if there's a huge, I mean, it's not... This is not Turn to Frog, this is not Beast Within, this is not, Pongify was another one. This is making a 4/4 blue and red thing, so not exactly the best, like, kill spell, because you can get rid of a creature. Yeah, you can get rid of your opponent's like, you know, 5/5, 6/6, and make it a 4/4, which is better, but it's not good. It's still in a bad. You're still in a bad spot. You still have a creature to deal with. And if you get rid of an artifact that isn't a creature, that better be a damn strong artifact. Otherwise, oh god, no. So more likely than not, you're going to be either using this to essentially transform your weak little thing into a 4/4, or hopefully there are some treasure tokens in this set which are artifacts. There's also some other kind of random artifacts that might not be all that useful. I don't know. So if you can get one of those with this, then you might be onto something there. If you have no treasure generation at all in your deck, or you only have like maybe 2 cards that do it, 1.5 out of 5 in limited. In standard, it's useless. In standard, this is a 0. This is just a big old nothing. But in limited, because in standard, if you don't actually win that turn, if your opponent has any kind of trick to stay alive, then you suddenly have to face a 4/4, and you have made the problem worse. But it's nice that it says exile. At least you got that. Okay, Serpentine Curve. 4 mana sorcery, create a 0/0 blue, green and blue fractal creature token. Oh, I put them in both, didn't I? Okay. So this is a blue-green card, obviously, but you know, I put it in here because it only has blue in the color identity. Woo! Okay. Put X +1/+1 counters on it, where X is 1 plus the total number of instant and sorcery cards you own in exile and in your graveyard. This is okay. This isn't really too bad. It's not something you really want to play on curve because you can't have too many things in to grow X, really, unless you have 0 creatures in your deck. Like, you want to play a few creatures, don't you? So this is more something you actually want to top deck later on in the game, and like, okay, in limited, and be like, okay, I'm gonna do that and make a 5/5 for 4. Okay, that's reasonable. You probably don't have too many instant sorceries in your deck though in limited, so you're not gonna get much more beyond like a 6 or a 7. Which for 4 mana is still really good. So I would probably, if I have at least like you know, 7, or if I have 7 or more instant sorceries in my deck, I would play this card. In standard, I would not play this card. This is not Crackling Drake. This is not Enigma Drake. This is the 4 mana, you make a token, and it has whatever strength on it. Those fly, this doesn't. I mean, let's just be honest here. Alright, Snow Day! Oh, shouldn't it be like a good thing? Don't we love snow days? Oh my goodness, why is everyone so cold? 6 mana instant speed. Tap up to 2 target creatures. Those creatures don't untap during their controller's next untap step. Draw 2, then discard a card. In limited, this card is actually amazing. This card is fantastic. It taps the creatures, so you know, as long as you do it before attackers are cleared, right? It gets 2 things, so they can't punch you in the face. They stay that way for a turn, and you draw a couple cards, and you have to discard a card, whatever. Odds are you can afford to discard a card. This is actually really good value unlimited. Standard, this card's useless. You'll see 0 play in standard. There's actually really no reason to play this card in standard. But in limited, it's like a 2.5, maybe even a 3 out of 5, because it's really actually pretty cool that it both slows down your opponent and gets you some card advantage. Alright, solve the equation. For whatever reason, this does not say learn. I don't know. It feels like it should, just based on the wording, but anyway. 3 mana sorcery, search the library for an instant sorcery card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. Huh, Merchant Scroll, interesting. Oftentimes, so in limited, if you have like one really big spell you're trying to get to win the game, for whatever reason, if you have, if you're running like Magma Opus and you're like, okay, I'm gonna get that card, I'm gonna win, it's gonna be awesome, right? Then sure, you can try getting this and basically running like 2 of them. But otherwise, don't play this card. In standard, it's nice that it says instant or sorcery. There's a lot of cards that are like that. I mean, you could potentially say, I'm gonna use this to tutor out Emergent Ultimatum, or whatever the Sultai one is, so that I can definitely get it by the time I get 7 mana. They don't have an issue playing that when they get to 7 mana. They always play it, and if they're not playing that, they're playing something else as one of the things that they would tutor with it. Either, I think it costs 8, maybe it costs 7 or 8, I don't know. But they're gonna play Kiribati the Sea God anyway, or they're gonna play Vorinclex anyway, or they're gonna play Ugin, 7 or 8 mana thing, anyway. So where are we going with this thing? Ugin, I believe, actually costs 8, because I remember playing Ironcrag Feet, and you still have to have like 1 mana left over. But anywho, and plus I'm gonna go back to the days, back in the days where the standard format was dominated by an enchantment known as Forge of Invention. What the heck was it called again? We just called it the Forge, honestly. Where you didn't have to tap mana, but you get to play things with mana up to the number of lands you control. Fires of Invention, maybe that's what it was. Yeah, Fires. It was an enchantment, right? And the set after that came out, Idyllic Tutor was reprinted, where you get to 3 mana, search your library for an enchantment, put it into your hand. And it's worth noting the enchantment that was winning games cost 4. So, and they was already running the colors, like it was already there. You could easily just take a card out, throw it in there, reliably, or more reliably, turn 3, 2 to the card, turn 4, play the card, and then proceed to win, right? Well, it saw 0 play, because as it turns out, you don't need fires to win the game. You can still do well without it, but if you have it, then you are just miles ahead. So yeah, for that reason, I'm gonna say this card doesn't get there. Soothsayer Adept, a 2 mana 1/3. You can pay 2 and tap it, draw a card, discard a card. And limited is okay, like 2 out of 5 there, just because, yeah, you can go through your deck a little more, but otherwise the body is weak, but the mind is willing. In standard, it's just 0, big ol' 0, big ol' 0. Symmetry Sage. We're not almost. That's a lesson. Get out of the review. Symmetry Sage, a 1 mana 0/2 flyer. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, target creature you control has base power 2 until end of turn. Unfortunately, it is not +2 +1, +0 or something. It is just base power becomes 2. The only redeeming thing about this card is that it has flying. So it could be like a 1 mana 2/2 flyer, which is very strong, actually, if that's just what it was. But the fact of the matter is that it is not that. It is just a 1 mana 0/2. It can still block things in the air, like it's still flying. It just and even then, like, you get 1 mana, okay, sure, you play something, you trigger it to be a 2/2 flyer. You might get a little bit of early damage in there. Unless you're running a super aggressive deck, I wouldn't bother with this in limited. In standard, I wouldn't bother with this at all. Just baseline, I wouldn't even mess with it. Maybe there's some way where it's actually super aggressive, play a whole bunch of these things, play an instant or sorcery, I have a bunch of like 2/2s in the air and I swing. Probably not. So I'm gonna say in limited, like 1 out of 5. In standard, you see that water that's making a ring? Yeah, that's a 0 out of 5. Okay, Teachings of the Archaics. Oh my goodness, I tell you, oh my god. Oh, there's so many things that have a T in them. I'm almost done, but I'm not almost done. Here's a lesson for you. 3 mana sorcery lesson, sure. If an opponent has more cards in hand than you, draw 2 cards. Draw 3 instead if your opponent has at least 4 more cards in hand than you. I think I've gone over this and said that at least, like, at first it looks like, okay, 3 mana, draw 2 basically, which is divination. And since you're playing this card, it's coming out of your hand in order to do that, then alright, that's nice. But unless this is your only card draw thing, and this is your one way to try to get back in the game after you spent your entire hand, then what are you doing? I mean, I guess you could also, like, have one of the creatures that learns, and then use this afterwards, and just put a whole bunch of creatures on the board, and then if it dies, whatever, I have this, I'll replenish my hand, sure. When you play this, if there's any way for your opponent to have 4 more cards in hand, you're probably playing this, like, later on in the game where they don't actually have that. Like, there's an anti-synergy there, where if you want to fulfill the last requirement, you either have to dump your hand super fast, or you have to wait to dump your hand, which you have to have some kind of discard outlet. And the longer you wait, the less cards your opponent will have, likely to be, unless you're playing against like a control deck. So, I don't like it, but if there's some sort of like blue aggro deck, I could see it seeing some play. Otherwise, I wouldn't really bother with it too much. There is also a chance that this does nothing, because if you have more cards in hand than your opponent, it has 0 effect. If you have the same number of cards in hand, it does absolutely nothing. And because that's the bottom line for it, it's not really all that playable in many circumstances. So yeah. Unless you're playing against control, don't even bother with this card. It's a lesson that goes in the sideboard, obviously, and it stays in the sideboard. And you might have one of these, and if you have something else you want to put in the sideboard, this is the first thing you kick out of there. All right. Let's see. Against control, though, it's actually fantastic. just saying, because they keep so many cards in their hands. Like, okay, draw 3. 3 mana, draw 3. Yeah, that's good. All right, Tempted by the Auric. Oh, okay. So the Auric is actually like not a person. Auric is not a person. It's actually like a type of people. It might be like like a class of people or a race or a species. Who knows? All right. 4 mana. Not 3. There's 3 blue pips there, but it's 4 mana. Sorcery for each opponent. Gain control of up to 1 target creature or planeswalker that player controls with mana value 3 or less. We have a better like mind control effect already in standard, so I feel like this doesn't really see much play there. This is okay in limited. It's not great though. I think it's more so for like commander shenanigans because it says for each opponent, so it's not really designed to be optimized for one-on-one stuff. It's supposed to be for 1 versus 1 versus 1 versus 1, like more than just 2 people playing. So in that sense, it's like a 1 out of 5 in limited, and probably a 0 out of 5 in standard. We have a better option already. Whatever the hell that thing is that the rogues play one of, that's the one. You know the one. I don't know the one, but you know the one because I believe in you. Test of Talents. Oh my goodness, we're almost not even close. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm looking, and I'm not seeing that we're towards the end, but we're kind of towards the end because it's alphabetical, but not quite there. 2 mana instant speed. Counter. Target instant sorcery spell. Search the controller's graveyard, hand, and library for any number of cards with the same name as that spell and exile them. That player shuffles, then draws a card for each card exiled from their hand this way. So where have we seen an effect like this before? Was that Unmoored Ego? I believe so. Where like for each one exiled from their hand they draw a card? Yeah. That's like super legit. We actually saw Unmoored Ego having like, a decent amount of play to counter Nexus of Fate decks back in the day. So sure they draw. It's worth noting, the first time I read this, I thought it was for each card exiled this way. Didn't notice it was only for the ones from their hand, which makes a lot more sense. Instant or sorcery spell. So it's negate with like super negate. Wow, okay. This is super negate. And also, it's worth noting here that if you don't want them to draw, you don't have to exile the cards from their hand. You can just treat this as like, just get rid of the ones in their deck and then they don't draw any cards. Oh, wow. Yeah, this is just replacing negate straight up. Oh wow, that's really strong. Not in limited at all, because the odds that your opponent is running multiples of whatever instant or sorcery you're grabbing is so slight. It's I wouldn't run this in limited at all. It's like 1 out of 5 because maybe you can hit something. Just don't count on the rest of it doing anything. In limited, you're actually running negate. Actually, it's not quite negate because negate is non-creature spell, and this is specifically instant or sorcery, so it can't get artifacts or enchantments or planeswalkers. So there's that. But currently, when we have a lot of things where there's counter magic going around with Drown the Lock and such, when there's Into the Story, you might want to counter and remove entirely. If there's Sultai Ultimatum that you want to get rid of, sure, there's actually some potential there in standard. So standard, like, yeah, I'm gonna say 2.5, 3 out of 5. This card's really gonna see some play. It might just be a sideboard card at first, but I could see it coming into games. Alright, Vortex Runner, a 3 mana 2/3. As long as you control 8 or more lands, it gets +1/+0 and can't be blocked. You can play 1 of these in your limited deck and not feel too bad. You can play 0 of these in your standard deck and feel okay. It's not great. Waterfall Aerialist. 4 mana 3/1 with flying and ward. Oh, I haven't seen ward recently. Okay, so ward is an effect where sort of like a passive ability, and we'll just read what it says. Whenever this creature becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, counter it unless that player pays blank. Whatever comes after the ward keyword there is the cost. In other cards, you just have to pay some life, which you usually have. If you don't, then you're probably dead. Life is a resource, but it's something just to consider. In this case, you have to pay 2 mana. Which is alright, it's okay. Before a 3/1 flyer for 4, probably just gonna run into another flyer at some point, or it's probably gonna be dead. So in limited, 1.5 out of 5, just because it does fly and is aggressively statted, and it might get somewhere. It might take your opponent's whole turn dealing with this card. Okay, standard is useless. We have better things that fly. They just do just fine. All right, Wormhole Serpent, 5 mana 3/5. For 4 mana, you can make target creature unblockable this turn. In limited, this is actually pretty good. Unblockable things, even though I said Vortex Runner is not great because it's just so slow to get 8 lands. But in limited, like, this is fine because unblockable things really like accelerate the clock. If you have any sort of board stall even, and this has a decent body to it, so it doesn't have to make itself unblockable, you can find something else and just make it unblockable and keep this back as a blocker. Yeah, that's nice. In standard, the C0 play, but in limited, like, you suddenly say, I can now kill you in 3 turns, what are you gonna do? It demands an answer. Unless you're already super far behind, in which case then if the 3-5 doesn't help you stabilize, oh boy, we have a board wipe, buddy. Alright. And that's it, we did it all in just barely 40 minutes. Okay, I don't want to go over to 41, so without further ado, if you liked what you saw, please feel free to, you know, click the like button or the subscribe or the watch me on the Twitter and the Twitch. I don't actually, not the Twitter, just the Twitch. I don't tweet. I don't know, call me old. And I have other reviews if you want to check them out as well on the channel, so take a look at that. And I gotta make a few more, so let me get to doing that. So without further ado, good night or good morning depending on where you are in the world, but as always, good luck.